Hi there, welcome. Today, map analysis, looking at some interesting possible caves and a key hotspot for unusual activity, bodies being found, human remains, and even mass animal graves. All kinds of dark stuff going on in a completely different area away from the usual hiking route. However, it is the location as Kenny described himself. It might show up on screen at some point, but when Kenny was making his first known comments on YouTube about his original encounter with the M Cave, he mentioned that it was near to Nellis Air Force Base. Nellis Air Force Base is a military base on the outer skirts east of Las Vegas. Nellis Test Range, Bombing Range, Area 51 is further north and about 30 plus miles onwards. There's a big difference between location to location. And whilst Kenny Veach was refinding the cave, he did say he couldn't find it. The only footage what we have to work with in regard to Kenny's point of view is when he's trying to go back out there, not when he was out there the very first time. So it makes you think, when Kenny went out there the very first time, did he do the same exact hike route, or was he in a completely different area? Did he play dumb to try and fool people, as in, I'm sure it was round here. Oh wait, no, it's 30 miles away in a different direction. And I know some people could say, yeah, but if it's by Frenchman Mountains, Sunrise Mountains, won't it be more discoverable by other hikers because it's more of a tourist area? You can make that argument and say, yeah, but what you got to understand is over that way, the more populated it could be, the more the cave needs to be hidden in order for people to just walk by it and think nothing of it. And considering that Kenny did describe it as a hidden cave, for everyone out there who's not searching for it, they're not going to know about it. They're not probably going to find it easy. They might just walk by and have no clue whatsoever. Just like how down Pitcher Canyon, Jeff Clark, the only hiker to come across an M-shaped cave on higher elevation, and other hikers that have come by since and over time, they've failed to see it. And they're out there with the intention of looking for M-shaped caves. So what chance does the general public stand when simply going out there to hike? Are they likely to come across the hidden M cave? Likely not. So in a more populated area, the cave needs to be more hidden for it to remain a secret. And somehow Kenny Veach, because of him going off the path, the beaten trail, and exploring and spelunking, it's more likely for Kenny to come across it compared to other people. I just want to give you those for and against arguments to try and justify why Frenchman Sunrise Mountains is an area of interest. Not the be-all and end-all, but just a possibility, and that's it. Considering there's already darkness that has already gone on over that way and remains unidentified till this day, at least publicly speaking, it's those what-ifs. And with it being near a military base and military activity and surveillance and aircraft coming and going, it's like a bit of a microcosm in a way compared to Little Jeremy Canyon, where you've got more of a triangular effect of military bases or military land. So it's worth putting it out there, and as I said, word for word, how Kenny described it, different location. And it's more so visually, what do we see? Because I would argue what I'm going to show you today is vastly more interesting and visually to your eyes what you will see and find when searching about, compared to the likes of those coordinates which really, Robin, the fake one provided, of just flat ground on military land. There's a bit more depth to this. What I do want to say before we do continue any further, I appreciate people's patience, and shout out to those that do watch my live streams in recent time, the length of them, and just the regular videos. Welcome if you're currently here during the live premiere of this one. Share your thoughts and opinions in the chat box right side of the screen. At any point in time, share your reactions, whether you agree or disagree. Do you think M Cave is located where we're looking at today? Do you notice anything of interest? Do you have any questions, answers thoughts, let me know everything down below under the video. It does help spread awareness, it helps with new discussions, and it can help other people learn along the way. And speaking of learning, if you want to catch up with recent coverage by me, previous videos, the full playlist, all available, top right corner where the I symbol is up there. Click on it and you get the drop down box and you won't miss any of the videos. If you want to support the channel, in the comment section below, pinned message, there is a PayPal link and channel membership if you want to. With that being said, credit to Harry, I believe from the UK, previously in the past, did a bit of a project and I've added on to it with a few extra little points and references. And without further ado, let's get into the location. Starting off on ground level around Nellis Air Force Base, as you see located here in the runway 2. There should be on satellite imagery caught 3D rendered military style planes, aircraft, which is quite good. And this is a reference because Kenny did say near Nellis Air Force Base. You might hear me repeat it over and over again, but it's important because it could be considered the truth, it could be considered a mistake, or it could have been done intentionally by Kenny Veach. Misinformation versus disinformation. Misinformation, spreading false claims and false locations by accident, not done with intent to cause harm or disruption. Disinformation, doing it on purpose, fully well knowing what you're doing and getting involved with. You let me know in the comment section, what type of guy do you think Kenny Veach was? Did he do it on purpose? Was he scatterbrained? Was he confused? But, you know, for people that aren't familiar, Nellis Air Force Base, it does cover quite a bit over there as well. These 3D rendered buildings, really good to see. And Area 51 has 3D rendered buildings too, if you're on the correct app or something. Over here, I believe a watchtower. I mean, visually, it's really good, this, by how it looks, doesn't it? And I know there's people that do like the map analysis and beyond, so that's why we're here today. But we're focusing in the distance, mountain range, where it is accessible. But on this side, we'll be restricted because of military. As in a border, I personally don't know where the border is around here. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Military motorcycle training over there. It's really like dirt roads. I mean, I would guess and say this whole area is probably off limits. You can correct me in the comment section, but it's important to acknowledge just so people know where to go and where not to. So I would guess and say around this area, you're probably not allowed to. Unless there's like a clear barrier, but there doesn't seem to be a barrier. Interesting. This type of aircraft as well, what you see could be what Kenny Veach encountered at some point when out hiking, whether it be Sunrise Frenchman Mountains or if you wanted to refer back to Little Jermay Canyon. Some vehicles parked up there. But you see all those markers, those beacon points, that's what we're going to be taking a look at today, up close. But over that way, on the other side of the mountains and on the peaks, you should be somewhat explorable. And there are actual pathways too. Over here, you got street view, likely public, accessible. But over that way, not. I think that might be a border barrier. So let's just go on ground level, street view, so you get a little bit more familiar with the area. This is what's needed, right? You look over there, bollards, closed off, clear fence line. Great. That's really good, this. This is a good start already. You know, I'm going to take my time with this because I want to absorb as much as possible. There's so much going on, so many possibilities. Mountain range over there, which we will be looking at. And over that way, human remains have been found on separate occasions, right? No names or identifications were given. Normal houses over there. Really interesting. And just know, even if you don't believe this is where the location of the M cave is, just know that Kenny Veach did hike over here in the past. It was Jeff Clark that said he saw an old comment, remembered one by Kenny, describing where he got injured, and it was Sunrise Mountains, which isn't far from Nellis Air Force Base, the same location where he described the M cave. So just take that into consideration. With Kenny having experience over there in the mountains and hiking, whatever the distance it was, you know, you may have found something over there, whether that be M cave or another mystery, you never know. But, see a turnaround point here. A lot of cars have been turning around. Looks like they've been doing donuts. My God, Jay Silverhill's been drifting and driving all the way around, trying to crash through the barrier. Road closed. In the name of Silverheels, it's only closed temporarily. I'm going to pierce right through like a spearhead, man, and get in an F-16 fighter pilot and zoom off into the sky. This was all about. But no, in all seriousness, residents, normal houses over there on the other side of that wall, as you can see. Pee anytime. Not pee as in go for a wee. I think that means no parking. Hollywood Boulevard. Interesting. Got the fence line down that way as it runs all the way down in parallel to the houses, meaning over that way will be Nellis Air Force Base related land, military related land. That's okay. Titled there, Nellis Air Force Base. Stop. Road closed. Nothing that fancy, but pretty clear. You've got a solar panel on the other side, whatever that's connected to, whether it be to do with lights, sensors, slow down, limit, warning, Air Force Base installation. The typical warning of don't get too close, don't cross over or you'll be in trouble. You got the watchtower over there, which we saw the 3D rendered one on satellite imagery. And then you got the planes, the runway down there. It's a little bit bright. That's just because of the quality of when it was taken at the time. And then over that way, flat ground with some mounds, but you're not allowed over there. You can see how it's fenced off. And that goes so far up, down there too, up to, close to the mountains. So you're allowed on the mountains on the other side within reason, but on this side, low ground, you're not able to get to. And what makes this more interesting is military base, military land, much closer to a hiking area, I would argue, compared to Area 51 base, Area 51 land. I think 3 to 4 miles, this seems much closer to the mountains where you could be hiking on the other side. So if you've got half and half on military land on one side but not on the other, on that land or nearby, you could have military equipment, of course. And could that be linked and associated with any caves? Now, I can't zoom in anymore, but if you look dead center in the screen, what you're looking at right now, and I mean dead center, those mountains over there, can you see that M shape? It might be shadows. It could be a ridge, but I can clearly see an M shape, whether that be a cave or not. That's in the mountains. It's on the side of a mountain, but it's also on and around military land. So what we do need to acknowledge is, if Kenny Veach was out there hiking, such as an area like this, he wouldn't be on that other side of the fence because he would be in trouble. He'd be caught out. Unless there's a sneaky way about. I know that sounds, well, people may not understand my thoughts at this moment in time, but there's a process to everything. But, if only you had street view imagery in other areas, like street view of Alamo Road, so you could narrate, talk, and describe visually what is going on. Because there's so much. As vast and open as it is, there's so much to pick up on. You can't rush it. Over that way, well, I mean, you're not allowed to drive down it because they've got this bollard, as you can see, been closed off at some point. There's a fence line there, but a smaller one. There is a roadway or dirt road which goes round there on the other side of the fence. Interesting. And of course, if you notice anything of interest, you can always leave a comment down below. Provide a timestamp too. Can we just go a little bit down here, if possible? Just get a closer look visually. There we go. The contrast isn't as high here. Nice. Military related. There's a plane in the sky, whether that be military aircraft or not. Could well be. Can't quite read that, but that will probably just be warnings, as usual. That fence line all the way down there. Interesting, very. Quite a big mountain range as well. And then what's that, out of interest? Oh, junk cars. Okay. And then what do we have here? An abandoned trailer of some sort? We are going to get to the mountains in a second, but I just wanted to familiarise myself with the outer skirts of Las Vegas and closer to the mountain area. What's that? No dumping, no contaminating maybe. So it looks like there are limitations to where you can go, but there will be access points as well, and right roads which run beside it. After exiting the street view, which we were looking down that way, okay, the base, over this way there is, I believe, a quarry from around here, so that will be off limits as well, and that's not too far from the mountains. Whether they would ever reach more close to the mountains at some point, who knows, maybe not. See all the vehicles parked up here, 3D rendered once again, which is really good to see, because if you can't do street view, you can get close to ground level and everything shows rendered at that point, that moment. You get to get close and see what it does look like. And then over here as well. Interesting. Machinery and equipment. Wow. I don't think you get this in other areas. I believe in the, Oklahoma Terrell, that's not really 3D rendered. So it's not been done everywhere. Oh my God. Oh my God, those trailers are floating off the ground. Harry Potter, where's that wand gone? Using magic. Where's Slytherin about? Have you been making these bloody trailers levitate? My goodness, magic. And there's even a shadow underneath it as well, so it is floating off the ground. Oh my God, this is mind-bending. I cannot take this anymore. And for a second I thought that was a trampoline, but I don't think it is. Anyway, what we can do, just to try and get as close to it as possible. Oh, maybe we can literally get onto it because there is street view encroaching. That's interesting. Let's at least just go to here. It's approaching the mountains. 7176 Alto Avenue. Click that off. Cars coming and going from the area. Houses there. There's the quarry over that way. See the mounds. And then of course the mountains, which we're getting to. Edging so closely. A fence line in parallel to this road. How close can we ultimately get? We'll see. Wait, what's that there? An RV trailer. What's that doing parked up on the side? Concrete borders all around it. That's different. Don't know if anyone's actually living in that or not. Interesting. Good mountain range, of course. And then it does come round that way. How far down will it go? Is it a dead end here? Oh, there you go. Hollywood Pit. Hours Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Stop and read before proceeding. No exceptions. This is your hazard training for this site. Failure to comply, violation. Boulder and sand and gravel incorporated. So yeah, it's not just a general place you just turn up to, right? If you're working there. But it's good that you can get close to the area. There's a house is what we were looking at earlier. Military base over that way. There's the watchtower. So we've seen it from different angles. Oh, interesting. So this was taken at a different time. That's why visually it looks different. And at whatever time this was taken, that quarry, not in use from the looks of it. Interesting. No dumping, graffiti there. It does say private property, but it is worn. Military base over that way. Wow. It's open then. Some vehicles parked up there, whatever that is. Random dog running around. You let the dog out. Interesting. How will it get me any further? No. Don't think it will. Never mind. Dead end. Fair enough. Get rid of that. So, with that being said, Shadow Rock Park there. We should get closer. Starting with close to this mountain, we've got a roadway which runs down this way in between the mountains, accessible. There is a weird camera marker there, whatever that is, but human remains found in a wash roughly in this area. The marker was by Harry, could well link to one of the previous news articles which we had covered. There's a few different occasions in which human remains were found. I believe there was one in 2025 as well, or a year before that, where a person was stabbed maybe 6 times or shot 5 times and just found dead on the side or near to a road. Then other human remains were found other times, but in the mountainous area. As for animal remains, they were found near a roadway too. So we just familiarise ourselves with this area first of all. You've got back there Emergency Training Institute and Las Vegas Metro Police Department range. Over that way is roughly where Kenny Veach supposedly got injured in the past up a mountaintop, which is known as Sunrise Mountains, with reference from Jeff Clark and what he remembers. Kenny described it as 20 miles from his vehicle, so I wonder where he was parked. Kenny, in his house tour video, made a reference to a 15 to 20 mile hike up a mountain. Could have been a cross-reference. So he collected items, went out there, but he also got injured in the process and needed to be rescued. So if having experience out there, who knows what he did encounter on that specific hike and any other times before that or afterwards. So Kenny will be familiar with the area, and that's why we're over here. And Kenny's comment too. But there appears to be like a wash based on the pattern. You can see the shape of the wash itself as it runs down here. See the ridge line as well. The slight depth to it, and it spreads, disperses here. And I guess that comes from the mountains up there. It's on a gradient as well. In parallel to this road, where we call it a highway or just a road, it goes into the neighbourhood down there of all those houses. I can zoom in closer when I've not got it flipped. Appears to be another wash. You can see the ridge, the overhang with the shadow casted on the side. So if human remains were found in a wash, did the person die there? Or likely they died elsewhere and maybe water washed them down? Whole body or certain remains? Skull, bones, things like that. And how long therefore? Interesting. We might as well do street view whilst we're here, so we're in line with it. Okay. very steep up that way. Whether there was a hiker round there and they died, passed away, got injured, maybe similar to Kenny Veach, you never know. Or they fell down the mountain so far. But the marker was more so on this side here. And there's a lot of rubble. Definitely a lot of rubbish. Doesn't look quite like a wash, but then again, you know. As I said, these markers were put down by another person. I'm reviewing them whilst I'm here. Up that way you could possibly walk up. I'm not saying that this is Kenny, but you know, you got an area where people are known to die, get hurt, injured, bodies being found. Doesn't sound too good, does it? Whatever reason that may be. Some of it can be foul play, others can be more accidental, an unfortunate outcome. Visually though, really good quality, I'd say. Get a good view of the area. Pan around. There are some, like, what do you call it, pathways or not, you can make out. You could walk up that way. I mean, depending where Kenny Veach, if he was to park, you'd be able to park further up that way. There you go, the quality's changed once again. Whilst I am looking at these areas, you can let me know if you notice any M caves, any potential locations of interest besides the markers that are on the satellite imagery, which we'll get to. I just like doing the ground view so you're familiar with the area if you're not from there. It's in the bush down there. Can't quite make that out. But yeah, there is parking. So if Kenny Veach did a hike at some point, he could have parked on the side there. Yeah, very possible. Oh, what's going on here? There's a parking space. So there's parking bays with rough lines. Lots and lots of rubbish. Big dumping ground. Accumulation over time. It's very messy, that. Beer bottles as well. So that's been fenced off there at a later point. More rubbish. So, where's the walkway? There'll be access points, of course. But really high up there. Yeah, it might be a tourist area, but it's still dangerous. Can be. One wrong foot. One wrong step. Okay. Cut that off just for a second. So you've got, or had, human remains found roughly in this area. As to who it was, identification. Not seen anything on the news or any articles that make it clear. It's unfortunate. And, you know, previous articles, what I looked at in the past, there wasn't a follow-up there either. So I don't know why they don't bother. Doesn't take much time to do, does it? Anyway, let's start with the lower part of this mountain area with a possible cave. As I said, these markers are by Harry, and I'm giving you my reactions to it. And if you see anything else, let me know. The quality though, the rendering, so much better here compared to Sheep Range. If it is accessible at some point, there appears to be a wash that runs down beside the road. Ooh, it's a bit sensitive. Whoa, easy there. Very steep up that way. You saw it on ground level, very steep, but we might as well look at it whilst we're here. So an M, where exactly is the M? Maybe when you look at it from a distance, the carving of the rock resembles an M, yes, but does it resemble a cave, an entrance way? Not from the looks of it here. But yeah, 2024 origin or HR in wash. Okay, so possibly what Harry did with the project was suggest that in this area of a wash high up, 2024, the origin of where the person may have been, a hiker who died, got injured, hurt, and then the body could have been washed down that way, as you can see, and down here, all the way down to in this area here, hence why the marker human remains found in wash. This marker may have been just roughly in the area. With the flow of water at some point could wash the body down. It happened in the past with an individual that was nearly over 300 pounds. They were washed down, awash from the mountains. So someone who weighs lighter, not as tall, very possible. That's interesting, that. So the origins, where that M marker is, and you follow the wash as it works its way up there, and down that way to the road. Interesting. And higher up there is another marker with a potential cave. So you can pause the video if you want. I'm just going to move slowly. I don't think there is a cave or an M cave here. It's just a shaping, the cut of the rock, the edge of it. Down there, hard to tell. Can't really see any caves. See a lot of rock. I can't flip the camera too much because of just the limitations with the imagery, that's all. And the obstructions. There we go. You can see how narrow and steep it is. Probably not possible to go up here. If you used to come down, it's some chance. But, take in mind, not every spot what we look at is going to be linked to Kenny or to say this is where you need to be. It is like a scouting reconnaissance from the imagery. I want to make it very clear as a disclaimer so people don't take it the wrong way. But if we work higher up here, where it gets exceptionally steep, and that's even on satellite imagery, there appears to be a possible cave in this area where it opens up. Look at the rocks, the individual rocks and boulders on the edges of the mountain. That's really clear. Really good photography and whatever you want to call it, imagery. What do we have in this area? Is there a cave? Anything that indicates that any holes or dark patches? That looks very narrow. More shadowing effects from the slight overhang of some of the rocks, ridge. Don't think there would be any mine shafts in this area, but maybe further on there could be. I guess there, centre of the screen, on the side, it looks like it could go in a bit, but I don't see enough darkness. I can't really flip it anymore, unfortunately, but it's like a slight little dent in the side of that greyness on centre of the screen on the side of it. With it being 3D rendered, it looks like it goes in a little bit. Possibly a shallow cave, but does it resemble an M? No, not from the looks of it. Because the lighting's on it as well, the sun is probably not going to show the shadows the same way. But it looks like it dips in from that angle. You see centre of the screen, it dips in a little bit. That could just be a visual image glitch, but I can understand why Harry thought it could have been a cave. Not a very prominent one, then. I just moved the marker over here so it didn't obstruct what we were looking at. And higher up this way, I said not all these areas are possibly accessible. And with a level of common sense, would Kenny Veach find it accessible himself? Depends. But there will be areas which you can get to, of course. So when looking down that area, see how the wash runs down there? Doesn't look as bad when you're looking down it. It comes all the way down here. Down there. There's markers where the wash running down close to the highway. So if there was a hiker in this area at some point, they could have died around here, got injured. They could have fell, tripped, who knows. But what were they really looking for? Just simply hiking? Makes you think. So from this side, looked at, there's a bit more over there. Another reference to a wash. So, go on ground level, around here. Get off. You can clearly see another wash there, the white line. Which goes up into the mountain area, up there. Very steep once again. Ah, there you go. That does look a bit more accessible on ground level, right there. I'll just do street view for a second, if it will allow me to. Then again, look how rocky it is. Over there, you could walk up it so far, the exception of those loose rocks, not to go over your ankle. Up that way, so far up, is probably somewhat accessible. Off the beaten path, you could call it as what Kenny Veach would do. Could he go spelunking somewhere over there? I wonder. I mean, look at that little centre of the screen there. Look at that tiny little hole in that rock. It could be an animal, little den, maybe. So little details you've got to look out for. So somewhere up that way is the next marker, what we're looking at. We've done over that way, which goes to the ground level. Because along the way, we're looking for other potential clues and stuff of interest. Now, let's click out of that. Turn it off. Yeah, so you can see you want to call it a wash, which runs up that way. When looking at it from this angle, you see the wash, right? How it works its way up. You could walk up that way, but is it exactly practical? The closer you get up this way, you can make out a path on the side here, which could well be a dirt road, but I'm not confident. But it is accessible, and I do remember people making a reference to it in the past. The wash itself, on the lower ground, down here, does work its way up and connects with this like dirt road, as you see. See how it joins together. Lower ground and higher ground, right? Still dangerous because there's no fence line from the looks of it or bollard. It works its way down there onto, yes. There we go. So, what's this like? You got the highway, if you want to call it, which we've already gone down, or gone up. Parking here, from the looks of it. Now, is that fenced off, or is that just a grid? Does look like a fence to me. So, let's just have a look. Just get an idea. Right. Parking, of course. Gated. Probably could climb over it or fit through the corner. But you'd have to walk up that way from the looks of it. Unless that opens at certain times. It's just because much higher up, when it bends around that mountain there, it's like a zigzag. And the elevation just looks steep. This could be a spot where Kenny Veach may have parked to start one of his hikes in the past. You never know. or to cross over that way. You can still get tourist areas, you can get places of interest, but off the beaten path that can still exist. There's actually a little grave back there, so I wonder if that's a person that's passed away. I don't know if that's in the area or looks like a grave. Can you see that centered the screen? Interesting. Did someone die? Went out there? I know that Frenchman Mountains, there was a photo in the mountain area of an actual grave and a cross, and I covered that way back in the past. So it's a dirt road, but can the public get vehicles up there if it's gated off, unless it's at certain times when it's locked? Because the distance and the elevation is rather steep. You could get like a small vehicle up there, but as I said, I'm no expert. And the canyon wash joins up with it. Close that. How is that a 360-degree photo taken? No. Misleading. I was trying to click on it. The one there. Oh, there we go. Oh, well actually, we've fast travelled from ground level and we're at the top of the world, man. How's you supposed to do it? This is perfect. So, if you notice any caves, anything of interest, you let me know. You got that there. So, was this taken by a drone, or is that a person? It's kind of hard to tell. Probably a person with holding a pole up and a camera, 360 degree. How did they... Well, to be honest, there was a bit of a pathway on that ridge and the peak so far. You'd have to go up there to some extent to be able to access that stuff there, of course. It's fenced off, a good reason. Is it Tickaboo Peak that has something similar, an installation? Las Vegas? Not sure which way we're facing, north, east, south or west. But zoom out just so it's... Wow. That's crazy that. I'm sure Travis likes this. How it appears visual. It's really good. Don't see caves from this distance, be honest. Or anything noticeable, more so in the distance. Over that way, not much pops to me. Close that down for a second. So yeah, before we do continue on, I put this marker here. Not that it's the location, but I do remember it being somewhere on the side of the highway road where the mountains are on either side. Somewhere roughly in the area. 2025 and some years in the past, from sheep to more so dogs, some puppies, and other animals in between. Lots of bones, remains, carcasses, the lot. As in who's responsible, unknown. But illegal activity and dumping like that, I did make a reference in the past to map analysis, and I said, well, if Kenny Veach came across something like that, what he wasn't supposed to see, if he tried intervening, he could have got in danger himself. And considering roughly in the area a person had got shot or stabbed or both, and that's somewhere here, well, anything's possible. Okay. So you can make your way up this way and follow it. You see here. And it's what you get up there. Look at that. The steepness of it. It's crazy. See the zigzag? It does turn to the right there, but it comes to a bit of a halt. Doesn't do it justice visually. But can you see? It reaches like a ledge and it goes up, zigzagging. There. It's crazy. You got to be careful when you're going up it as well, so you don't fall or trip and roll all the way down. And looks like the steepest part. Up and over, down there. Wow, it's crazy. You can see up and down. That just looks so steep, even from here. But it looks prominent. It's prominent enough to walk up at least, or to get to, because it's clearly a pathway. It's been designed like that, the shaping. Let's go over these ridges and mountains. Right. That is probably what we saw when we're on the 360 degree. We're somewhere there and we're panning all the way around. Yeah. We were, weren't we? And then that's where it was flat down there, where I said there wasn't much of interest. Okay. Familiar with the area now. That's all good. But in fairness, it's fenced off anyway. You used to walk by it. But then when you look down there, the bloody drop. I mean, because it's zigzagging, it's gradual. Where it appears like that there. But all the way down there and back up. It's crazy. No caves in this area. No dark patches or ridges. They are the other markers, but I just wanted to show you the other areas of interest. Cave. Right there. What's that of? I mean, that is interesting. You got that like pit in a way. And darkness. That's kind of like off the beaten path. Because if people were following the one here, or those that have access to it, to go all the way up there, you see. And yet, on the right down there, which is probably more like a wash. If Kenny was to go down this way, there's a drop. There is a drop, an overhang. So like either climb down, abseil down, or maybe come around from this side here, if it's not too steep, possibly. And the wash continues on all the way down there, which seems very, 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 very unrealistic to do. Some greenery there, vegetation. Yeah, there's a big drop. There's a drop right there. Wow. I can't flip the screen to show you, but I know where it is. It just keeps on going, doesn't it? Very tight, narrow. Trying to cover every angle possible. It's an extreme version of Picture Canyon. Would Kenny be down here? Very likely not. Another cave symbol there. Yeah, we'll get to that one later. And that one too. Because, rather interesting those, visually speaking. We're coming back to here, where you saw the zigzag, the original one. Look at that. The shape of it. The way it's been designed. And how it drops so deep down there to, you see the highway down at the bottom and the mass animal remains marker, which is a rough one. So with that being said, we should acknowledge what was on the front bit here. Whilst it's very steep and probably not accessible, there's a mention to an origin of wash. Origin of wash. What was Harry referring to here? Another potential wash where the person could have been a hiker and was washed down, fell down. It's a possibility. Not as prominent, the wash, but you can roughly see how it trickles down. But do I see any Ks? Well, I can see it goes in a bit there. Can you see there? But probably shallow. And now we should be looking for M-shaped Ks, but will they always come across as M-shaped when you're looking at satellite imagery? Depends if it's on the side of a mountain. It depends if it's 3D rendered. I mean, look down Picture Canyon. Got a selection or a couple of M-shaped caves. Do they show up on the satellite imagery as an M shape? No. But in other areas, Sheep Range, where you might get the odd M-shape symbol, and it turns out to be nothing of a cave. And it's actually just a ridge, or it's sagebrush vegetation in an unusual shape. Looks can be deceiving. It dips in on the side there. May not be too much to it. And then do we have another marker? We do. Higher up, and this is referred to as M cave with a question mark. Does it bear any resemblance to an M cave? I can see the wash. It runs down. It also works its way up. Such a point where it's probably not quite accessible. What are we looking at in regard to an M cave? Something there. I mean, the way the rocks are shaped and cut, unique. Any possible entrance? Got to take in mind when looking at some of Aqua Chigga's footage in the past. Sheep Range, Little Mermaid Canyon, Picture Canyon. Some viewers had said when Aqua was stood about, panning around, behind him in the background, they looked like a perfect shaped rock, or a ledge, or a doorway, an entranceway. Could you experience something like that over here, then? I wonder. I don't see anything too prominent, in my opinion. One slight thing I have noticed a bit down here, a bit of a dip in the rock, but that appears to be it. Anything over here on the sides? Not really. I said people will see things different to what I see, hence why markers may differ. I mean, look, on the side there, it's probably hard to see. Can I put a marker? I can see like a very faint M symbol. About there. It's about an M-shaped symbol. But is it of a cave? Maybe not. I know it mentioned that earlier on, probably from a different area, an angle, I did see an M in the distance when on Street View. When we're near to that military base. One of the entrance ways where it said, don't go any closer. I wonder if that would show on the map. Right. So, we've done that. We've done the one down there. We've done these two here. It's now those two. Human remains found. It's not directly in this area, but I just put the marker here roughly in the area. When a hiker was out there a few years ago or so, came across some remains. That was yet another event, and that was actually in the hiking area. It wasn't down a wash, it wasn't beside a roadway, it was within the hiking area. That was quite interesting. Didn't know the identity in the end, though. So earlier when I said about descending in this area here, is there a cave present? I mean, it looks interesting. Is there any gaps? Cracks? Hard to tell. You let me know if you see a cave, potential entranceway in this area. And the other one is right down here at the very bottom. And this one follows a very definitive wash, like a snake, in and out. Quite a deep one too. Disperses there, and then over there you've got Academy. Where's the closest street view? If there is any. There's there. And that cornered off. Let's just try for a second. Up that way. Up that way is where the other potential area of interest is. But you can't drive up there, of course. It's closed off. Could possibly walk up that way. Some houses. Snow in the mountains over that way. We need to head up there. We worked our way down before, but it's just a little bit further on. And you'll see why. You follow that wash up. Right? To this point here, it's really interesting. The shape of it is like a V shape, and it gets really narrow here. Look how narrow that is. And you come around it, which appears to just be a wash. You've seen the shaping of that wall. Like a triangle almost. The shaping of it is interesting. That massive boulder there, 3D rendered. It's like something from Lord of the Rings. And what the hell's that? Is that a rock? Maybe. Yeah. It's just like a ridge, line, spine, wall, which is a very tiny opening around there. So you come around the bend, right? And then just tucked away there. Have you seen that? Is it a cave? It's like what we saw a bit higher up there, where that other marker is, top right corner. But it's what's round that bend there. It might be shallow. It could well be shallow. Put the marker roughly. Roughly, the coordinates. If you want to take notes, note it down, whatever. Because look at this. It might not bear resemblance to the location people think. It may not bear resemblance to the description by Kenny, as in the shape. But look at how Kenny was acting when he was down Picture Canyon, and he panned his camera around and looked at that other cave, which may have been shallow. It wasn't deep. It wasn't gigantic. It wasn't shaped like an M whatsoever. And yet Kenny said, looks like, and acted scared or appeared scared and walked off quick. So if Kenny can be influenced by darkness like that and he gets scared, what else could he get scared about? He might be scared or intimidated at one point by the MK, but if he's scared by other things when out there, what else is going on? And it doesn't have to be Sheep Range. It could be Frenchman Mountains, Sunrise Mountains, the general area. You never know. Is it truly hidden, this? Kind of. It's kind of hidden. Depends how many people would actually walk up this way. Whether you want to treat it as Kenny Veach related, MK related, or a separate mystery, or just an area of interest, as simple as that. It's kind of tucked away behind and around this barrier wall, in a way, of rock. And nestled down here. I mean, it looks like a shallow cave there. The coordinates aren't quite accurate. Looks like a little shallow cave there. There's a bit of an oval to it. Goes in. I'm looking down at it, just so you know, because it won't let me flip the image. Oh, it might. Just a little bit then. Did Kenny Veach ever explore this area? Look at that. on the side of a mountain in a way. But that there, as the light shines in, very, 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 very interesting in my opinion. Could be shallow, could well be very shallow. But it goes in. One of the more looking, convincing type of caves in my opinion compared to what we've looked at today. That's why I was saving this one towards the end, because it was rather interesting. You let me know, cave or not. That's roughly Frenchman Mountains. You see the area. On the other side, much flatter, you don't see as much. I've done videos about this and all the what ifs, Kenny here, Kenny there. Didn't want to repeat myself. I just wanted to lock in with the actual visual aspect of how the mountains appeared. The only other area that needs to be given a shout, Sunrise Mountain. At least that's how it was labelled when I was on Street View, on Air View. Not much going on there, I don't think. It's great how close you can get up to it though. Really getting up and close and personal. However, with that being Nellis Air Force Base, and we were, was it here? Yes, we were. We were here earlier, remember? And when I panned the camera around, we would have been looking at Sunrise Mountains. Sunrise Mountains over there, where Kenny Veach had gone in the past and collected items, possibly. Did he encounter the M cave on that one? Who knows? And he needed to be rescued by a helicopter because he blew his left leg out. And over that way of Sunrise Mountains, when you go on Street View imagery, there is an M-shaped looking symbol. I'll have to get closer. Let's see if I can... Yeah. I know it's hard to see, but if you look center of the screen, and I mean center, there's a big M shape in the mountain range over there, in the mountains. But if that's on the side of military land, that could be a problem. Unless it's fenced off a bit before that. I don't know if you'd see the fence line. But over that way is where Kenny Veach was hiking in the past, near to a military base. And whether it be on the same exact hike or not, he said he found the M cave near Nellis Air Force Base. And there's literally an M symbol over that way in the mountains. I'm not saying it's a cave, but it looks like an M shape. But to see it from here would imply it's pretty big. Maybe a bit too big. But it's on the side of a mountain. Can we align that with the satellite imagery by any chance? I flip the image and we go over here. I'm not seeing too much from over this way on the sides, but maybe I'll have a closer look. Well, not literally. I'll have a closer look some other time. Because I wanted to focus on Frenchman Mountains and a little bit on Sunrise Mountains. Is there any markers, circles? Not really, only the one here, which I don't know if it will be accurate or not. Well, it is. That's good. Frenchman Mountains over that way, highway down there. Don't see a person. Sunrise Mountains over that way. Yeah, so I think what I'll do, we'll leave it there for now, because I'm thinking that what we could possibly do is a dedicated focus video to that M thing that I'm suggesting. Enhance the imagery, zoom it in, so you get to see it for yourself. In regard to Frenchman Mountains, there's activity over time which has gone on. In regard to Kenny Veach being in Frenchman Mountains, maybe less likely, but Sunrise Mountains, more likely, with the backstory Jeff Clark provided, with the reference of the Nellis Air Force Base, which Kenny referenced, and we're seeing an M-shaped thing. There's a few links, possible links more so with Sunrise Mountains than Frenchman Mountains. And possibly Frenchman Mountains might get more attraction than Sunrise. I could be wrong. That's how it comes across. We'll probably do a follow-up video about it then. With that being said for now, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to share the video. If you want to hit the like button, that'd be appreciated too. And if you're on mobile, feel free to hit the hype button. And for those that just wanted a final summary, we took a look at ground level, so you're familiar with the area, the surrounding area, possible parking spots, whether that be you put yourself in the shoes of Kenny Veach, or you put yourself in the shoes of yourself if you ever was to go out hiking out there for Kenny or for your own personal reasons. You know, not everything has to be linked to one thing. Some people get tunnel vision and think there's only one way, but there's many different perspectives and just exploring in general. Some certain places of interest, especially in Frenchman Mountains with the markers where that prominent wash was at, we were provided the coordinates and that spine, that wall of rock, how it went in deep and shallow. Well, it's like a pit in a way. And that side in the gap, that crack or gap, it looked like it went in so far. That's a very interesting spot. With that being said, my name's Warlight Ref. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.